Hey guys, what's going on? It's Codiak here with another top 10 video. Today we are hanging out in ICC, just having a little bit of fun, and I thought, we'd take a look at the top 10 things that Blizzard can do to make Legion a success. Now, we know all of the big feature changes that are coming in Legion, but let's look at some of the more subjective things. Some of the things that myself as a Mythic Raider and some of my guildies, what we think we can get across to Blizzard and say, hey, look, these are some really important changes. You guys really should pay attention to this. If you get these things done right, the game's going to be way more enjoyable for all of the players. PvP, PvE, casual, hardcore, etc. The game will be more enjoyable, and that, at the end of the day, is the most important thing. So let's start at number 10. Make PvP finally fit into the game. Now, I'll be totally honest with you guys, full disclosure, I am not a PvP guru. I had a little bit of fun on my DK in Warlords, playing around with some of my friends and doing some arenas and doing some PvP. But look, Frost DK was not hard in Warlords of Draenor. I hit 2 or 3 buttons and I killed a lot of people. But PvP has always felt like this odd duckling, right? It's always felt a little weird. And Blizzard's doing a lot of great things to, well, hopefully great things, to make PvP fit into the spectrum of Legion and make it seem more accessible, more balanced, etc. So who knows? But they cannot take their eye off of PvP. It's a huge portion of this game. There are a lot of players that still play PvP, and Blizzard even hypes it up. They do tournaments, they do things like that. So they really need to take PvP seriously. And I'm not saying that the majority of the community is PvP, because we know that's not true. But there are a lot of people that want to play PvP, 1, and 2, that already are playing PvP, and they're sick and tired of it being unbalanced. They're sick and tired of changes not happening, and they're sick and tired of the same old fixes. Throwing another map here, send in another game mode here. Those are not fixes. Those are band-aids. Those are things to keep everybody tied over so that at the end of the day, everybody's happy and says, oh, well, they gave us this. They need to take a serious look at PvP, and they're doing that. But what they really need to do is make sure that they're committed to that endeavor. They need to stick with their idea of changing the talent system up, changing everything up in PvP, figuring out a way to make it balanced, and figuring out a way to make it just as competitive, if you will, as PvE and raiding. Now, World of Warcraft has always been a PvE-focused game, but if they can bring PvP into the fold in Legion and make it something that casual players, hardcore players, PvEers, PvPers, make something that everybody wants to do, they're going to be really successful, and they're going to find that a lot of their population is really happy about those changes. So that's number 10. Keep your eye on the PvP ball. Number 9. Unique rewards need to come back. And what I mean by unique rewards is very simple. For the last couple of months, last year or so, since they announced Legion, we all saw one of the big changes, which was artifact weapons. Now, artifact weapons, they're cool. I'm okay with artifact weapons. There's a lot of lore behind it. There's a lot of class history behind it, and that's really cool. But there was a time when having having a Thunder Fury or having a Ragnaros mace was so unique and so precious that you felt like one of a kind. Now everybody's getting one, right? Everybody's going to have the same kind of look, the same kind of gear sets. And so what they're doing is they're kind of painting all of us with this broad brush. And I see what they're doing. They did it in Diablo, right? Everybody pretty much looks the same in Diablo. There's a lot of variation to their weapons and their gear, but that's based on their system of the game. But in WoW, we're all looking for that one drop. We're all looking for the same thing. So I know they're implementing random dropped legendaries. Those really should be unique. They should feel special, and they should really make us feel like we stand out as a character. I know there's always a balance with giving us more, making us all happy, and holding that carrot in front of us on a stick. We want that carrot, but sometimes the chase and the idea of the carrot is more important than the actual carrot itself. So unique rewards would be so awesome. It would make me feel like such a badass again to get some of those really cool items and see that there's very few people that actually have those items. I always felt like that was one of the coolest aspects of Vanilla WoW. You know, when you saw somebody with a Thunder Fury, you know they meant business. You know they worked their butts off to get it. And that's the same for the first couple expansions, and then Blizzard kind of started to bend their back and say, okay, well, everybody should get one of those. Well, maybe, but no, you know, I think everybody should work for their rewards, and they should be so unique sometimes that you feel like you stand out. I think at the end of the day, we all want to stand out when we play this game. We all want to play this game and say, I did this thing. Can you say that you've done this thing? Can you say that you have this cool piece of gear? So it's just something to consider. It's not something that's going to make or break the game, but man, how cool would that be? Man, that would be so cool. All right. This next one, number 8, has been bothering me in a bunch of my guildies this entire expansion. Make reputations more engaging and unique. Holy crap. Reputations this expansion were a mess. All over the place. They had elements of like Vanilla WoW, Grindy McGrinderson, and they also had this like, oh, we'll just throw in another faction, right? We should just throw in another faction here. You cannot do that. There was a time when reputations felt organic, they felt unique, they felt rewarding, and man, if Blizzard can bring that back, Legion is the time. There's so much rich lore, there's so much going on in Legion, that if they can bring reputations back to a place where we're so engaged with what's going on, each zone, each group, man, that would be so cool. And make those rewards more than a cosmetic, more than, I don't know, more than some little toy. Make those rewards something that we all want. Something that, man, we worked our butts off to get it. And I'm not saying I want to kill 5,000 mobs to get that reward. You have to make that whole process of grinding a faction enjoyable, or nobody's going to do it. I mean, for the PvE folks here that are maybe Mythic Raiders, Heroic Raiders perhaps, we know that the Order of Awakened stuff was brutal. You know, we already know that Augment Runes are going to be in Legion, so you're not learning from your mistakes, right? You're keeping Augment Runes. Are you just going to make me grind it out until I can get an Empowered Augment Rune again? And that way I'm basically grinding every day just to have this one thing that's going to give me an edge in raiding? Ugh, God, please, Blizzard, pay attention to your reputations. It used to be the core, one of the bigger cores of what you did in Vanilla and Burning Crusades and into Wrath. So please, 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 don't lose sight of that. That was so cool and so engaging. So bring back the reputations, make them engaging, make them unique. Number 7, items can change the gameplay, but they shouldn't mandate how we play the game. Anybody that has raided in HFC, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about soul caps, and I'm talking about 4-piece bonuses for classes such as mages. I'm talking about any of those things that really break the game. Now, the best example, and I think everybody will agree with me, is the soul cap. You have this trinket that is absolutely 100% required by pretty much any melee class. Oh, except for, you know, Windwalker monks that can't use it because it's broken. Okay, well, that's a problem. But you have this thing, and we joke around. You know, we're pulling Mythic Archie, and we're sitting there and we're saying, oh, I got a soul cap. Oh, there goes X amount of damage, 10 million damage or 8 million damage. I don't know. I'm arranged. I don't know. But then you look at logs and you go back and you see just how much damage that person did. And it almost makes it feel like that class isn't doing anything anymore. You're relying solely on this trinket to do all your damage, and it feels so fake. It's like, well, maybe we were sitting around a drawing board one day and we said, wow, you know, it would be really cool if we gave them this superpower trinket, and this superpower trinket exploded and it did a shit ton of damage. That is terrible design. I mean, just terrible design. I mean, I don't know what went wrong with that. I do not know. But when we're just comparing soul cap damage and we're not looking at the base of somebody's playstyle, that's a problem. But on the other side of that coin, I am totally okay. I'm totally okay with tiers and trinkets changing the way that we play the game. Okay? I don't mind that my 4-piece hunter bonus makes all of my aim shots instant. I don't mind that. But I don't want it to dictate every single thing that I do, and I don't want it to corner me and pigeonhole me into having to play the game a certain way just to be competitive. Okay? And that's something that Blizzard really needs to be careful about, because there are classes like Blood DKs that really don't even like. Yeah, their tier bonuses are okay, but they're not bending over backwards to get their 4-piece because it's just not worth it. And then there are classes like Mages, which your game doesn't actually start until you get your 4-piece bonus. So Blizz needs to take a really serious look at their balancing of trinkets and tier bonuses in Legion to make sure that what they're putting into the game doesn't break the game. Okay? No more breaking the games with silly trinkets. Fine, change my playstyle. Make me switch it up a little bit. That's cool. That's really cool. But don't break the game for me. I hate having to just, I look at damage meters, and I'm not a huge damage meter guy. Like, I know I want to check myself, but at the end of the day, I want to be doing mechanics. And if all I need to see is that I have to bring 3 rogues just to be competitive because they have soul caps, I don't want to do it. It just sucks. It just sucks. So, that is number 7. Number 6, better catch-up mechanics for alts. I think we've all agreed at this point that Garrisons, it was an interesting experience. It was an interesting experience. But there were a lot of things that Garrisons did that made us feel very isolated, made us feel like just another thing to log in and do. And that is so true with the alts, right? Every day we're logging in with alts and we're just doing Garrisons. Okay, well, that's fun, I suppose. Not really. But how about legendary rings? Oh my god. I did not think I was going to have to grind out a legendary ring 3, 4, 5 times the exact same way. Blizz, you got to give me something for my alts. I am putting in the work. I am a mythic raider. Even if I'm a heroic raider or a normal raider, if I'm putting in the work, I should not have to go through all the same hoops that I went through just to keep my alts up to speed. And I know Legion is starting to work on that. I know that they've talked a lot about the artifact weapons and the artifact powers and how they will have a catch-up ability and a catch-up mechanic. But, God, I hope it's smooth. I really do. For some of us that have been playing this game for a long time, we've got a lot of alts. We don't want to be sitting here for hours on end just to play catch-up, even though we've been playing this game forever. Say we've killed all the mythic bosses in a tier. That's just the last thing we want to do. So give us a little bit of a smoother catch-up mechanic that makes us feel like we can jump right back into the action, not spend 2, 3, 4, even 5 weeks just trying to catch up to where our main is when they first started. Okay? Get us halfway there and we'll meet you the other halfway. Alright, number 5. Bring back the community. The community has always played a huge part in WoW. There's a lot of community discussion, there's a lot of community forums. There's communities on almost every website you look at that involves World of Warcraft. I'm talking about, there's a community on WoW Progress, there's a community on Warcraft Logs, there's a community on Ask Mr. Robot, there's a community on the forums, there's a community on MMO Champions. So there's all these different communities that are engaging in World of Warcraft, engaging in the product, engaging in what we do every single day for the most part. So Blizz needs to focus a little bit more of their attention away from the streamers, away from the people that provide them publicity and marketing opportunities, and focus on the core of their community. And one thing we're going to be talking about in an upcoming Exiled downtime is the beta key issue. So you have a core of mythic raiders that really want to test the game out and play the game. And there's a core of heroic players, there's a core of normal players that are going to test the systems for you. I think they need to find a better way to implement that with the community. They need to talk to the community, not just the handful of selected people they have that they rely on. There is a community out there that pays attention to this game, pays attention to how the game develops, and it would be really, really awesome if they paid a little bit more attention to our opinions. And I'm not saying that they're ignoring us, guys. I really am not. I think that they've done a lot of good things in the last couple of years, and there are a lot of good things to come out of Legion, but they need to pay attention to the class forums specifically. They need to have a leader in every single class so that every class has a seat at the table. When they're doing raid content, they need to make sure that there's a seat at the table for everybody. Mythic raiders, heroic raiders, normal raiders, casual raiders, hardcore raiders, etc. And that also goes for PvP. They need to make sure they're tied into their PvP community, not just the competitive base, but the PvP community that makes up the lump sum of who's playing PvP. And they just need to be more connected. Now, I don't have the answers to that. I really don't. But I think Blizzard, after doing this for so many years, they can figure it out. And Legion is a great, great, great time to do that because there's so much stuff happening in Legion. There's so many new feature changes that people are going to react about. And they're going to have opinions about it. And they really need to be plugged in so that as Legion moves forward, they're moving forward with the community. That would be a huge step in the right direction. Number 4, no more required raid comps. This one grinds my gears, guys. It grinds my gears because as a raid leader, I am constantly looking for the thing that's going to help us kill the boss, move forward, progress as a team. And one of the things in Warlords of Draenor that I felt was just atrocious was this constant monkey on my back that felt like I needed to bring a Disc Priest, like I needed to have two or three rogues, like I needed to have shamans during Zul'Harak, like I needed to have mages because they're the only ones that can burst things down. This constant looming, whatever it is, always putting pressure on me to consider my raid comp and say, well, we don't have 2 DKs tonight, which means we don't have 2 Gorfien's grips, which means we're probably going to struggle and ultimately fail. I do not want to feel like that. I don't want to put the raid through that because that is a huge burden. Huge burden on the morale, huge burden on the raid team, huge burden on pretty much everything. And look, you can say that, oh, well, we should be able to compensate. We should be better than that. And yeah, I totally agree. But when Blizzard is handing us things like Gorfien's Grass, like Cloak of Shadows for rogues, and classes that can just do things so much better than other classes, I feel like if I'm bringing 4 Ret Paladins to a raid, which God forbid anybody that ever does that, but I should still be able to accomplish goals, even if I don't have an optimal comp. I shouldn't need to change my comp drastically from boss to boss to boss. And I will say this, guys, they are doing a lot of that, right? We've seen in some of our class preview videos that they're taking away a ton of utility. And a lot of people will look at this as a bad thing. I look at this as an opportunity to move forward and say, well, you can have kind of a cookie cutter class from class to class to class. But this means we're going to make these boss encounters more challenging. We're going to make everything across the board more reliant on how you play as opposed to who you bring to play. And that's huge for me. Absolutely huge. Like I said, as a raid leader, the last thing I want to do is have to tell half of my raiders, well, you're playing the wrong class. Rip Ret Paladins, rip Windwalker Monks. I don't want to have to feel this pressure that if I don't bring the right comp, the exact comp that the top tier guilds are bringing, we're gonna fail. That's a terrible feeling. It brings down guild morale. It just brings everything to a low point. And I think that Blizzard has a huge opportunity to fix this moving forward. And I hope they do. I really, really hope they do because I think it could be a massive success. Number 3, content should stand on its own and no one enjoys jumping through hoops. Now, this is kind of a twofold top 10 response, but content should stand on its own. What I mean by that is I shouldn't have to go through a content zone and feel like I'm just doing it to get the prize at the end of the tunnel, right? The carrot on the string, as we said before. I want to feel like when I go into a new zone, when I go into a new situation, that the content is fully realized. It's fully developed, and it's going to make me so engaged with what's going on that I'm connected to it. And I mean that from a PvE, PvP, everything standpoint. Factions, reputations, rating, world PvP, world questing. I want to feel so connected to this world that I feel like I'm in it, right? And that's always the goal of an MMO. We want to feel like we're connected with the world. And they've kind of shied away from that, right? They've created garrisons, which makes us, yeah, it feels like we have a base of operation, but we're so disconnected and we always come back there. We feel like if we don't come back there, we're not, it just feels disconnected. And we want our players, our friends to be reconnected to the world that we love so much. So that could be a real big game changer. And there's some things that they're already doing, like Suramar and things like that. The Broken Isles has some great lore behind it. They're bringing back the Legion, which is really cool. This is kind of like BC 2.0. We all loved BC. There were a lot of positives that came out of BC. So let's see if they keep that moving in the right direction. That would be so incredibly amazing I think everybody is really hoping that they can really hold the content up on its pillars, strong, fully realized. Man, that would be cool. And the second half of this, no one enjoys jumping through hoops. Oh man, I can't tell you if they got rid of kill this mob 10,000 times or 20 times once a day for the next 6 months, I would be so happy. Oh my god, look, I know this game is going to have some grindy mechanics to it. I know it, and that's fine. That's part of the deal. It's part of what I signed up for. But make things organic. Make them happen naturally. Make me want to log in daily. Make me want to come back to this world because of interesting characters, interesting stories, interesting quest development, interesting daily development. Find a way to make it all work together. And I know that is super heady and that's super like, well, just make it all work, right? You can make it all work. You're Blizzard. I know it's challenging, but they did it before and they can do it again. I have complete faith that they can do that. But if they're just going to put more content in here that's like, well, just go kill this thing 50 times and do that every day for a month, and then maybe we'll give you, a slight upgrade to what you have, you're going to see a lot of frustrated raiders. A lot of frustrated people, I should say. Not just raiders. Number 2, keep raid tiers moving in the direction that it's moving. I am a raider. You guys know that at this point. You guys know that I am, for the most part, focused on PvE content. That is what I do, that is what our guild does, and we love it. And personally, I feel like Warlords was a great step. It was a great step in the raid tier development. If you look at some of the tiers, now I will be honest with you guys, I didn't do a lot of high mall, but I sure as heck did BRF, and I sure as heck did HFC. I really like the development. The layouts of the entire raid tiers, the boss design, the rewards that some of these bosses dropped, I felt really connected with the raids. And that was really cool. And I hope that with all of the changes that are coming to the classes, kind of the thinning out of the utility, they're going to bring a lot of that back. A lot of the idea that, raiding is this lore but competitive environment that has a lot of rich depth to it. And they did a great job, I think, for most of the boss encounters in Draenor. And I think with the rich characters and the rich lore and the rich world moving forward into Legion, I think you're going to find that, yeah, they got a lot of opportunities to make some cool bosses, some cool raid tiers. And I really hope they capitalize on it. I really, really do. I would be so pumped if they kept raids moving in the same direction. And I know a lot of my fellow guildies agree with me. Number 1, no more content droughts. No more 1-year raid tiers. No more absolute bullshit telling me that, oh, well, we had plans for this, they just didn't work out. I am so sick of hearing the same old song and dance about content droughts. Okay? We had a content drought when BRF was done. We have a content drought now. A 1-year content drought. We have been doing the same 13 bosses for a year. That is brutal. And to be totally honest, that's unacceptable. I know Blizz has come out and said, well, we had plans for this, but we started moving on to Legion. Okay, well, Legion better be friggin' awesome. It better be friggin' awesome. And I better not be doing the same content for 6 months to a year. Because I'll tell you, we held out through HFC, through BRF. I don't know if we can hold out through Legion. Okay, there's only so much we can take. And even small patches, small content builds of new things, new little tastes of things that really make us feel engaged with the world, right? We were just talking about that. I cannot believe we grinded the same boss for 13 months. That is just insane. And that cannot happen in Legion. You lost a lot of guilds. You lost a lot of people in Draenor because of content droughts. And I really hope Blizz is paying attention and they have learned from their mistake. Because if that happens in Legion, I'm telling you, you're going to lose a lot of us. And I don't want to see it happen. I love this game. I love playing this game. I love the people that I play this game with. But when we're sitting on the same boss, for 13 weeks, 13 months, I mean, yeah, you're going to lose us. You're going to lose a lot of your top tier players. You're going to lose a lot of your casual players. It is a lose-lose situation. So Blizz, you got to pay attention to your content. You got to keep it pumping out, and pumping out good content, right? Nothing just cheesy and cookie cutter to make everybody happy. It's got to be fully realized, and that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. So those were 10 things, guys. Those were 10 things that Blizz can do to make Legion a success. And honest to God, I have a lot of hopes. I have high hopes, I should say, for Legion to be successful. But they have to pay attention to all of these things and keep their eye on the ball. Because if they take their eye off the ball, boy, Legion is going to be a fast decline, just like Warlords of Draenor. Alright guys, this has been another Top 10 video. Make sure to check out Exiled Power at exiledpower.com. Follow us on Twitch and drop a subscribe. We'll see you next time.